Blood dripped from her fingers as she stood barefoot in the middle of the street, her wild hair blowing in the cold wind. People had gathered around, some screaming, others frozen in shock. Her belly, round with pregnancy, looked like it was about to burst. But it wasn't the blood or her wild eyes that had people shaking. It was what she held in her hand, a tiny, red-stained baby doll. Or at least, that's what everyone thought, until she opened her mouth and whispered, "It's real." And then, she dropped it. The doll hit the ground with a soft thud. But the sound that came after was not soft. A cry. A real, newborn baby cry. Gasps filled the air. Someone fainted. A man shouted for the cops. And as the sirens wailed in the distance, the woman, who everyone in town thought was just the crazy lady who screamed at pigeons, looked up and said one thing that made everyone go silent. "This baby is his, and he knows what he did." The crowd looked around, confused. Whose baby was it? Who was she talking about? And what exactly did he do? That was the day everything changed in Ridgewood. 3 months before that day, nobody cared much about the woman in the alley behind Jimmy's auto repair. She had no name that anyone knew. The kids in the neighborhood called her Crazy Mary, though no one was sure if her name was even Mary. She wore the same brown coat, summer or winter, and talked to herself like she was having a full-on dinner conversation. Most people ignored her. Some gave her a sandwich or a few coins. Others crossed the street when they saw her. But one person, one quiet person, saw her more than anyone else. His name was Jordan. Jordan was 14. He didn't talk much at school, didn't smile often, and always kept his hoodie pulled low over his face. His mom worked double shifts at the hospital, and his dad had left when he was 6. So Jordan spent a lot of time walking around town, keeping to himself. One afternoon, while cutting through the alley shortcut on his way home, Jordan saw something strange. The woman, Crazy Mary, was sitting perfectly still, like a statue. Her hands were on her belly, and for the first time, she wasn't talking to herself. He almost walked past, like he always did. But something about how still she was made him stop. "Hey, you okay?" he asked, his voice barely louder than a whisper. She didn't move. He tried again. "You hungry?" Still no answer. He took the peanut butter sandwich from his backpack and placed it next to her. That's when her hand shot out and grabbed his wrist. Jordan flinched. Her eyes locked on his. They weren't wild like usual. They were clear, scared, and full of tears. "They're going to take it from me," she said. "You hear me? They're going to take it again." Jordan didn't understand, but something about her voice gave him chills. He yanked his hand back and ran home. That night, he couldn't sleep. The next day, and the day after that, he saw her again. Always in the same spot. Always holding her belly like it was made of glass. And day by day, her belly grew. Whispers started spreading around town. Is she really pregnant? Who would with her? Maybe she just ate too many beans. But Jordan knew. He saw her face every day now. He brought her apples, water, even an old blanket. And slowly, she began to trust him. Her name, she said, was Marissa. And no, she wasn't crazy. At least, not in the way people thought. She told him things. About someone she once trusted. Someone powerful. Someone who hurt her and made sure no one would believe her. She said she had been silenced, locked away, drugged, then dumped back into the streets when she started asking questions. She said the baby was the only proof she had left. Jordan didn't know what to think. It sounded like a movie. But the way she looked when she told him, it didn't feel like a lie. Then things started getting weird. One night, Jordan saw a man in a black SUV parked across from the alley. Just sitting there, watching. The next day, the blanket he gave Marissa was gone, and her face was bruised. When he asked what happened, she just shook her head and whispered, "He found me." Jordan felt sick. He started skipping school, staying close to the alley, watching over her like a guard dog. Then, one morning, she wasn't there. Her things were scattered. The blanket, a cracked water bottle, a smear of blood on the wall. Jordan panicked. He ran all over town, asking anyone if they'd seen her. But nobody had. He tried the police station, but they waved him off. "We don't track the homeless," the officer said. He went home that night feeling like someone had scooped his insides out. But the next morning, she was back. She looked worse. Pale. Limps in both legs. But her belly was bigger than ever. And she was smiling. "They didn't take it," she whispered. "Not this time." Jordan helped her sit down, gave her some orange juice, and asked what happened. She told him everything. How someone tried to drag her into a van. How she bit him hard enough to draw blood. How she ran for hours through the woods. And how, just before she passed out, someone helped her. A woman, with silver hair and eyes like ice. That woman gave her a place to hide for the night, and a message. He's watching you, too, Marissa said, pointing at Jordan. Jordan froze. What do you mean? They know you've been helping me. They think you know things. He didn't believe her. Not at first. But then, that same black SUV showed up in front of his house the next day. His mom thought it was a neighbor. Jordan wasn't so sure. Days passed. Marissa's time was getting closer. She told Jordan she could feel it. I need you to promise me something, she said one night. Okay, he replied. If something happens to me, protect the baby. Jordan wanted to tell her not to say stuff like that. But instead, he nodded. And then, just like that, she was gone again. This time for 3 whole days. And when she returned, she was standing in the middle of Main Street, barefoot, bleeding, holding what everyone thought was a doll, until it cried. People were still frozen in place when the ambulance arrived. Jordan pushed through the crowd, heart pounding. He could hear someone yelling, "Back away. Let us through." The paramedics surrounded her. She didn't resist. She just looked at Jordan and mouthed something he couldn't hear. But he could read her lips. You know the truth. Then, right as they lifted her onto the stretcher, her body jolted. Her mouth opened wide, and she screamed, long and loud. Blood poured down her legs. The baby was coming. But before anyone could move, a gunshot rang out. The sound of the gunshot cracked through the air like thunder. Screams burst from the crowd as people scattered in all directions. Jordan dropped to the ground, his hands covering his head, heart pounding like a drum inside his chest. When he looked up, chaos surrounded him. The paramedics were yelling. A woman was crying. Someone had knocked over a trash can and it rolled into the street. But where was Marissa? He crawled forward, desperate to see. There she was, on the stretcher. Still, silent, blood seeping through the white cloth beneath her. A paramedic was leaning over her, shouting something Jordan couldn't hear. Another was on the radio, calling for help. The crying sound, the baby, was gone. No, 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 Jordan whispered, trying to stand. His knees shook. He pushed through the crowd that had formed again, ignoring people yelling at him to stay back. Then he saw it. The baby, wrapped in a blanket, lying in the arms of a woman in uniform. A police officer. She looked stunned, holding the infant as if it might vanish. Jordan stepped closer, but before he could speak, someone grabbed him from behind. Step back, son. You're not supposed to be here. It was a police officer. Older, mustached, with hard eyes. But I know her. I know Marissa, Jordan shouted. She needs help. The officer's grip tightened. Her name is not Marissa. That woman is mentally unstable. We've dealt with her before. No, you don't understand. Jordan cried. She's not crazy. Someone's after her. They tried to take the baby. The officer didn't listen. He dragged Jordan to the sidewalk and pushed him down. Go home, kid. This isn't your business. But it was Jordan's business. He'd been there since the beginning. He knew the truth. And now, everything was going horribly wrong. Later that night, Jordan sat at the edge of his bed, staring at the floor. His mom had come home early from the hospital when she saw the news. The town was buzzing. Everyone talking about the crazy pregnant woman and the gunshot at Main Street. Reporters were everywhere. Cops too. But nobody was telling the full story. They're hiding something, Jordan whispered to himself. He turned on his old laptop and started searching. Ridgewood Mental Hospital. Missing patients. Pregnant homeless woman in Ridgewood. Nothing useful came up. Just random articles and old case reports. He opened a new tab and typed, Marissa Ridgewood plus missing. One result caught his eye. Ridgewood teacher reported missing 5 years ago. Jordan clicked. The article showed a smiling woman with wavy brown hair and kind eyes. Her name? Marissa Gaines. She was a third-grade teacher, loved by her students, respected by her peers. Then one day gone. Police said she had a mental breakdown and walked away from her life. No one had seen her since. Jordan's hands trembled. This was her. It had to be. He read more. Marissa Gaines had accused a local politician of misconduct. Claims were dismissed due to lack of evidence. Days later, she disappeared. Jordan's mouth went dry. What if the baby was his? Not Jordan's. The politician's. Was that what she meant when she said he knows what he did? He grabbed his phone and texted the only person he thought might believe him. Mia, I need your help. It's about that woman from the news. It's serious. Mia was his neighbor. She was 16 and smarter than most adults. She had this way of knowing when something wasn't right. 5 minutes later, his phone buzzed. Be outside in 10. Mia's car smelled like vanilla and French fries. She tossed Jordan a hoodie. Wear that. It's cold, and you look like you haven't slept in weeks. Jordan pulled it on. Thanks for coming. Mia gave him a look. You said it was serious. It is. Her name is Marissa Gaines. She was a teacher, went missing 5 years ago. I think she was pregnant with the baby of a man who hurt her. Now she's back, and someone shot at her today. Mia raised an eyebrow. Whoa, back up. Where did you get all that? Jordan showed her the article. She scanned it. Okay, this is creepy. But what are we supposed to do? I don't know. I just feel like if we don't do something, they'll cover it all up. And nobody will know the truth. Mia was quiet for a second. Then she said, I know someone at the hospital. My cousin works night shifts. She might be able to find out if Marissa made it, or if. Jordan looked away. He didn't want to think about the or if. Mia called her cousin. It took some convincing, a fake story about a school project, and a lot of please, but finally, her cousin agreed to check. 15 minutes later, she texted back. No patient under the name Marissa Gaines. No record of a woman giving birth from a street incident either. But there's a Jane Doe, brought in with a gunshot wound. In critical care. Baby taken by child services. Jordan's chest felt like it caved in. They're hiding her. They're still hiding her. He looked at Mia. We need to find out who the father is. Mia blinked. You're talking about a politician from 5 years ago. How are we supposed to know which one? Jordan pulled something from his backpack. A silver lighter. She dropped this once. It was in her coat pocket. I kept it. Mia took it and examined the engraving. For D. Callahan, the future of Ridgewood. Mia's eyes went wide. Daniel Callahan, that's our mayor. Jordan nodded. And he's been hiding this the whole time. Suddenly, Mia's phone buzzed again. She looked at it. Then her face turned pale. What? Jordan asked. Mia showed him the screen. Unknown number asterisk. Asterisk stop digging. Or the next bullet won't miss. Asterisk. Jordan stared at the message. His blood ran cold. They know, he whispered. They know what we're doing. A car drove slowly past them. Then another. Jordan looked around. I think we need to leave. Now. But just as they turned the key in the ignition, boom. The car behind them exploded into flames. Glass shattered. The ground shook. Jordan and Mia screamed, ducking as smoke filled the air. Sirens wailed in the distance. But Jordan knew one thing. This wasn't an accident. They were being hunted now. The flames crackled behind them, lighting up the night like a second sun. Jordan and Mia ran, coughing, stumbling, their hearts pounding in their ears. People came out of their houses, screaming and shouting as the smoke rose high into the sky. But Jordan didn't stop to look. He knew what that explosion meant. Whoever sent that message wasn't bluffing. They wanted him and Mia gone. They didn't make it far, just to the old train tunnel at the edge of the woods where kids used to hang out. It was dark, damp, and forgotten. The perfect place to hide. Both of them collapsed against the wall, trying to catch their breath. Do you think they followed us? Mia whispered. Jordan shook his head. I don't think so. Not yet. But we can't go home. Not now. Mia looked at him. What are we going to do, Jordan? They tried to blow us up. Jordan leaned forward, clutching his knees. They're covering something up. Something big. Marissa's not crazy. She's scared. She's been running for years. And now they've got her, and the baby's gone. He paused. We have to find the baby. Mia rubbed her face. How are we supposed to do that? They probably already moved her to some other city or put her in the system under a fake name. Jordan suddenly sat up straighter. Not if we figure out who took her. What do you mean? Child services, he said, reaching into his bag. Every baby placed gets a caseworker. We find out who that is, we follow the trail. And how are we supposed to find that? Jordan unzipped the side pocket of his backpack and pulled out something small, an ID badge. Mia's jaw dropped. Where did you get asterisk that? Asterisk. I grabbed it at the hospital during the chaos, he said. One of the nurses dropped it. Mia shook her head. You're nuts. I know. But it worked. That ID got them into the hospital the next morning. Jordan wore a mask and hoodie, pretending to be a med student on rounds. Mia waited in the car, watching from across the street. Inside, everything felt too clean, too quiet. He moved through the hallway, careful not to attract attention. He passed doors labeled ICU, neonatal, and psych ward. His heart thudded with each step. Then he saw it. Room 7C. Jane Doe, critical care. His hand shook as he reached for the doorknob. Inside, the room smelled like antiseptic and sadness. Machines beeped softly. Tubes ran into Marissa's arms. Her face was pale, lips cracked. A bandage was wrapped around her side. She looked small, fragile. Jordan stepped closer. "Marissa," he whispered. No response. He glanced at the chart at the foot of her bed. It had a number written on it. **CS 1042B. ** case number. Probably for the child. He took out his phone and snapped a picture. Suddenly, a voice behind him barked, "What are you doing in here?" Jordan turned. A nurse stood at the door, eyes wide, hand hovering over the emergency button. Jordan bolted. He pushed past her, ran down the hallway, burst through the stairwell doors, and didn't stop until he was back outside, gasping for air. Mia pulled the car around. "Did you get anything?" He held up his phone. "I got the baby's case number." She stared at him. "You're insane. But maybe, just maybe, you're onto something." That night, they met at Mia's house. Her dad worked night shifts, and her mom was visiting her sister, so they had the place to themselves. They plugged the case number into the Child Services database using her cousin's login. After a few tries, they found it. Case number, CS 1042B. Temporary guardian, Karen Tillman. Address, 142, Oak Ridge Drive, West Ridgewood. Karen Tillman? Mia said. "That's the mayor's cousin." Jordan's eyes narrowed. "Of course it is." "Jordan," Mia whispered. "This was planned. He knew about the baby. He had people watching. He probably paid people off to keep it quiet. And now he has the baby in his own family's care, so he can control everything." Jordan sat back. "We have to get to her. We have to get the baby away from them." Mia blinked. "We're not kidnapping a baby. We're rescuing her. There's a difference." Mia rubbed her temples. Okay. Let's just see what we're dealing with first." So, the next day, they went to Oak Ridge Drive. It was a quiet neighborhood with big lawns and clean fences. Too perfect. Too fake. They parked 2 streets away and walked. Karen Tillman's house was a yellow 2-story home with flower boxes and a wind chime. A baby carrier sat near the door. Through the window, they saw her, holding the baby, rocking her gently. She didn't look cruel or dangerous. She looked normal, maybe even kind. Jordan felt his chest tighten. "What if she doesn't even know?" he whispered. "Know what? That this baby is part of something dark." They were about to turn away when a black SUV pulled into the driveway. The driver's door opened, and out stepped Mayor Daniel Callahan. Mia gasped. "Why is he here?" Jordan ducked lower in the bushes. "Because that baby is his. He's making sure everything stays in his control." They watched as Callahan walked into the house without knocking, like he owned the place. A few minutes later, the baby started crying. Then they heard shouting. Mia's hand gripped Jordan's arm. "Something's wrong." Callahan stormed out, slamming the door behind him. He pulled out his phone and barked something into it before getting into his car and peeling away. Inside the house, Karen cradled the baby, tears running down her face. Jordan couldn't hear her, but he could read her lips as she whispered to the baby. "It's okay. I won't let him take you. I promise." Jordan and Mia looked at each other. Then Jordan said, "We're not alone in this." But just as they turned to go, someone stepped out from behind the neighbor's hedge. A man in a gray suit, dark glasses, earpiece, and he was pointing a gun at them. "Step away from the property," he said coldly. "Now." Jordan raised his hands. So did Mia. But before either of them could speak, they heard a voice shout from behind. "Leave them alone." They turned. It was Karen Tillman, holding a baseball bat. "Get off my lawn, or I'll show you what crazy looks like." The man hesitated, then walked off slowly, disappearing into the shadows. Karen looked at Jordan and Mia. "I know who you are," she said. "And if you're really here to help that baby, then come inside. We don't have much time." Karen closed the door behind them and quickly pulled the blinds shut. "Sit down," she whispered, her voice trembling but firm. "Before someone sees you." Jordan and Mia sank into the couch, their eyes darting around the living room. It was cozy, family photos on the wall, books stacked in the corners, the faint scent of lavender in the air. But something about the way Karen moved, like she was ready to flee at any second, made the room feel less safe and more like a trap. Karen clutched the baby to her chest as she paced the room. "She's hungry," she said, rocking the child. But I can't feed her yet. Not until I know what's coming. Jordan leaned forward. We need to know the truth. Everything. Please. Karen stopped pacing. She looked at the baby, then at Jordan and Mia. Her face was pale. You won't believe me. Try us, Mia said softly. Karen took a deep breath. Marissa isn't who you think she is. Jordan's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Karen sat across from them, adjusting the baby in her arms. She used to work for the government. Silence. Jordan blinked. What? She worked in a classified mental health division. A research project. Very hush-hush. It was meant to study trauma and memory disorders in victims of war and abuse. But it went way beyond that. They started experimenting on women. Mia leaned forward. Experimenting. Karen nodded. Mind control tests. Drug trials. Trying to erase traumatic memories and replace them with calm ones. But it backfired. Badly. And Marissa? Jordan asked. She was one of the top psychologists until she became a subject herself. They tested the new serum on her without consent. Said it was a mistake. But it wasn't. Karen swallowed hard. They broke her. Took everything from her. And when she threatened to go public, she ran. Jordan's heart pounded. So the baby, Karen nodded slowly, is proof. Proof that Marissa wasn't hallucinating. That what she said happened really did. But more than that. She paused. She was pregnant before she ran. And she wasn't supposed to be. Jordan frowned. What does that mean? It means that someone inside the program impregnated her deliberately, a part of the tests. Some kind of genetics experiment. Mia gasped. Oh my God. The baby isn't just her child. She's part of their science project. Their asset. Jordan stood up. So they don't want the baby because they care about her. They want to use her. Karen nodded. That's why the mayor, Daniel, wants her hidden. He was part of the original project's funding. So was the hospital board. They're all in this. And they'll do anything to make sure the truth never comes out. Jordan's fists clenched. And Marissa? Karen looked away. They're keeping her alive. Barely. Enough to extract more information. Mia whispered. So what do we do? Karen looked back at them. We run. Jordan raised an eyebrow. What? We get the baby out of here. Disappear. I've done it before. I know how to cover our tracks. Jordan hesitated. You're asking us to go on the run with a baby? No, Karen said. I'm telling you. Because if we stay, they'll come. And they won't ask questions. Just then, the baby started crying. Loudly. A piercing wail that echoed through the house. Karen tried to calm her, but the crying didn't stop. Jordan peeked through the blinds. That's when he saw it. A black van, slowly creeping down the street. No headlights. Just the dull hum of the engine. His stomach dropped. They're here. Karen stood up instantly. Go out the back. Now. But what about you? Mia asked. I'll buy you time. No, Jordan said. We're not leaving you. Karen shoved a small backpack into Jordan's chest. There's formula, diapers, a burner phone, and fake IDs inside. Get to the bus station. Take the midnight bus heading east. Once you're on it, I'll contact you. The baby screamed louder. The van stopped in front of the house. They'll come through the front, Karen said, opening the back door. Run while you can. Jordan grabbed the baby. Mia grabbed the bag. Then, without another word, they slipped out the back and into the darkness. They didn't stop running until they reached a gas station near the edge of town. Jordan ducked into the bathroom with the baby while Mia stood outside, watching the street. Her hands shook as she called out to him. Jordan, we have a problem. He rushed out, holding the baby close. What is it? She pointed to the TV behind the counter inside the gas station. It was the evening news. And across the screen, in big red letters, it read, Breaking, teenagers wanted for kidnapping infant from child services. Jordan's mouth went dry. Then their pictures flashed on screen. His school photo, Mia's cheer squad picture, and the baby's blurry hospital photo, captioned, abducted infant, identity unknown. A shaky news reporter spoke. These individuals are believed to be armed and dangerous. Citizens are advised to stay alert and report any sightings to local authorities. Jordan stared at the screen. They weren't just running now. They were fugitives. Mia whispered, What do we do now? Before Jordan could answer, the baby started crying again, loud and shrill, drawing the attention of the gas station clerk. Jordan looked around wildly. And then he saw them. 2 police cars pulling up across the street. Sirens off. Lights out. Creeping slowly. He turned to Mia. Run. And just as they darted around the corner, a voice rang out through a megaphone. Stop right there. Hand over the child. Jordan clutched the baby tighter and ran straight into the night. Jordan didn't look back. He couldn't. The baby's cries were muffled against his chest, his arms trembling as he cradled her tightly while sprinting down the dark alley behind the gas station. Mia was right behind him, gasping for air, clutching the backpack with all the supplies Karen had packed. The world had suddenly turned upside down, and now they were the villains in a story they never asked to be part of. The shouts from the officers echoed down the street. Suspects headed east. 2 teens and an infant blocked the perimeter. Flashlights pierced the night as the footsteps of the officers grew louder. Jordan turned a sharp corner, his feet skidding across the wet pavement. This way, he hissed. Mia followed without hesitation, panting. We can't keep running forever. I know, Jordan snapped, eyes scanning ahead. He spotted a broken-down shed behind a mechanic's shop. It was small and falling apart, but in that moment, it was everything they needed. He yanked the rusted door open, motioning for Mia to get inside. She ducked in first, then he followed, gently settling the baby into Mia's arms. They crouched together behind an overturned workbench, trying to steady their breathing. The baby quieted, as if sensing the danger, her wide eyes glistening in the dim light. Jordan pressed his ear against the wall. Footsteps passed outside. Then silence. For a moment, it felt like the world had stopped spinning. We can't stay here long, Jordan whispered. Mia nodded. Do you think Karen made it out? I don't know. A few hours passed before the sky began to lighten. Jordan peeked through a crack in the wall and saw that the police cars had cleared out. No more flashing lights. No more voices calling their names. He turned back to Mia. It's time. They slipped out of the shed just before dawn, moving like shadows. With no money and no transportation, they stuck to back roads and alleyways, using whatever cover they could find. By the time the sun was high in the sky, they had reached the edge of a small wooded area, far enough from the town, but still dangerously close to being spotted. We need help, Mia whispered, exhausted. Jordan nodded, adjusting the backpack on his shoulder. Let's try the phone Karen gave us. He powered it on. There was one message, a number with no name, just 4 words. Meet me at Hawthorne. Jordan frowned. Hawthorne? Mia's eyes lit up. That's a train station. An old one. Barely used anymore. My uncle used to tell me stories about it. Without hesitation, they turned and made their way toward the station, trekking through overgrown grass and cracked sidewalks. It was almost sunset when they finally reached it. Hawthorne Station sat like a ghost in the middle of nowhere, abandoned, silent. The glass cracked and the signs faded. But someone was there. A tall man stood at the edge of the platform, hands in his coat pockets, a duffel bag by his feet. His eyes found theirs instantly. He didn't smile, didn't wave, just waited. Jordan approached cautiously. Who are you? The man looked down at the baby, then back at Jordan. I'm the reason she's alive. Mia stepped closer. Did Karen send you? He nodded once. She told me everything. And she told me to get you out. Out of town? Jordan asked. The man shook his head slowly. Out of the country. Before they could process it, the man picked up the duffel bag and handed it to Jordan. Clothes. New documents. One-way train tickets. And a contact in Detroit who will get you across the border. Jordan stared at him. Why are you helping us? The man looked at the baby again, his eyes softening just for a second. Because she's not just some child. She's the key. They did something to her, something they couldn't control. She's going to change everything. Mia hugged the baby tightly. What do you mean? The man leaned in. She has abilities. Jordan's blood ran cold. Abilities? I've seen it. The program tried to erase her mother's memories, but the child, she remembers. Things no infant should. Things no person should. Suddenly, the baby started to cry again. But this time, something strange happened. The street lamps around the station flickered violently, buzzing like hornets, then exploded one by one, glass raining down like sparks. Everyone froze. Jordan stared at the baby in his arms, whose cries quickly faded into a quiet coo. The silence afterward was deafening. Mia's voice trembled. What was that? The man didn't answer. He just looked at them both, eyes wide with something between fear and wonder. You have to keep her safe, he said. Then he turned and walked away, vanishing into the trees. Jordan and Mia stood on the platform, stunned. In the distance, the sound of the train's horn cut through the quiet air. It was coming. Jordan looked at Mia. "We don't have a choice anymore, do we?" She shook her head. "We never did." As the train pulled into the station, they climbed aboard with the baby, found an empty seat in the last car, and stared out the window as the world they once knew slipped away behind them. But just as the train began to move, a woman stepped onto the platform. She wore a long black coat and held a briefcase in her hand. Her cold eyes watched the train until it disappeared. Then she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a phone. "They've boarded," she said. A pause. Then her voice dropped to a chilling whisper. "Activate protocol red. No survivors. To be continued."